Is VP people.
We are your hosts, Taylor and
Enrico.
this is Unfiltered Conversations,
Global.
where we have the conversations that you want to have.
But you don't.
We have the conversations that you should have,
But you don't.
and the conversations that you overall just avoid. So jump in with us today for this episode of
Unfiltered Conversations Global.
Is VP people.
Welcome back
to Unfiltered Conversation Global. I'm here with my co-host Taylor, and I am Enrico.
Enrico's pretty pumped today, I guess,
Yes.
to have a talk with me. Hey, I'm very honored that you're so excited.
Yeah, I think.
So,
I've
the
taken-
topic
I've
today
taken
is-
a lot of sugar.
If you're going to live life, you live life to the fullest, right?
Fullest
Fullest of sugar.
Why? Like you don't take tea with sugar? Now, what's the fun in that?
For real. So, today's topic, Eric has been begging us to do. He's been pushing for this one very hard. He wants to talk about fear.
Fear.
So, tell us about your push for this one, Eric.
Fear has quite a lot of like the way this guy is afraid of adding 2 spoons in his tea.
Fear of diabetes.
Yeah, fears of diabetes. Live life, enjoy life.
So, okay, I'm just messing with him. I've been pushing for this topic. He was kind of opposed to it. He's like, it's too small of a topic. And we actually had probably an episode and a half worth of a conversation about having this conversation. So it's been prepped a bit, and we're excited to it. I think we came together and was like, okay, this would make I think a good topic. So the contention is, or the idea is, that fear is a huge, if not the most major driving force in the way that people behave, and that we need to take note of that and then to help mitigate it by looking the facts and the whole of the situation square in the face, and not just letting our fear control us and guide us. Because if we only went on the fact that there is fear and we don't do anything, would you ever have talked to your wife's parents?
Oh, really? Because
It's kind of scary.
it's scary. You are never ready. You're afraid of what they'll ask. You're afraid of what you need to
Yeah.
meet.
But even that, you've already overcome how much fear to even get to that point.
And I think,
You asked her out on a date, she could have said no.
yes, that
hurts.
That's fear.
Yes.
That fear. And is it out of, sometimes we just look at fear as something that is us like trying to avoid it because we are avoiding embarrassment at the long run. Or what is it? What is it with fear? Because like it plays a big role in quite a lot of seasons in our life. It plays a lot, and in a certain time of our life, we are encountering exams, and they bring massive fear. I remember when I was doing my first Kenya certificate exam. For now, the one that now propels me to go to high school.
That gives you the grade
So
to determine which high school you're allowed to go to.
Will I go to
And high schools have different quality levels.
Yeah, there's the national, now the provincial.
Where
Now,
did you go?
You're looking. I went more to the provincial now. That
So
was
Alliance.
I did not go to Alliance. I went to an interesting school. It's not Alliance.
I thought I had a bazoo here.
My clients say I went to Alliance, and then guys will be like, which year?
For real.
Which year? I'm
not remembering you.
I'm not that guy. There's some politician who got a D minus, and this guy has no one that was in the same school with him when he was in his college. Like, he's done like certificate and then upgraded it to diploma, and then went and did a degree in Uganda. I don't know why they all do these fake degrees in Uganda.
They don't, Bwana. They do it also in India.
Yeah,
and
India,
Pakistan,
India,
Punjab,
Punjab University. Where like, for me, I've done.
and not everyone that went to Punjab has
Yeah.
a fake.
Yeah, true. I've done a degree outside Kenya, and there are so many people that can vouch that I've done that degree, and I'm wondering why.
Name one.
Yeah, like one person that can vouch that I've done a degree.
Yeah.
I know there's Mike.
Oh, Michael
I was-
Jordan.
I was,
Yeah.
I was in school with him.
Yeah.
There are many. I don't want to.
I know. Naming somebody on a podcast would be
they might sue me, and I might end up compensating them quite a lot. But anyway,
lawyers doing lawyer things, thinking about lawyer stuff.
so like fear has been, do I call it a motivator to achieve things in life, and sometimes something that has set me back in achieving things in life. That's how I can quantify fear.
There's different kinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have this like a primal fear where it's like we know that this thing is terrible, we need to run away.
Yes.
Even if you have never encountered a bear, a grizzly bear, or a giant lion, when you see that looking at you
but here in
and
Kenya we handle lions every day.
I know. And
we live with them.
but when you see this bear coming at you or this lion creeping up on you, you know it's like I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Like there is something very wrong with this situation and it might be my end. There's that primal fear. Then there's I would call it informative fear, where it's like it's letting you know that there are negative possibilities and outcomes that you really need to be cautious of, because either in a soft way they'll hurt your feelings, or in a real way there's some actual damage that could be done. And then I think there's what I think mostly we encounter in our life would be like a manipulative fear. And these fears can be introduced by other people, or they can be the enemy. They can be, in our worldview, it can be Satan that is really pushing for us not to do X, Y, Z because of X, Y, Z, and he instills this fear, right?
You're talking about Satan. And I know many of us who are Christians, one of the biggest point of us getting saved is fear of hell. And the fear of dying and not knowing where you're going.
Yeah, I think that I don't think we can. I don't think we can negate that being a factor. But even in Proverbs, it says, "Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." And so it's like if you do something out of fear, if like you step out of the way of the bus, that's about to hit you, or that you know is going to hit you if you stay standing in that spot. Yes, you motivated by fear, but then you can also see, being on the sidewalk is better. There are all these shops that I can see cool things, or I can meet people along the side, and walking in the road was never a good idea in the first place. And you could be mocked for, oh, you only left the road because you're fearful. Well, I mean, sure, you can say that. It doesn't mean that one, doesn't mean it's not a good action, and two, that it's not more beneficial to be outside of that area. So yeah, that can be the foundational move. But I think it's important that when God classifies that about himself, it's only the beginning.
Yeah, true.
We don't just live in fear our whole lives of God, because now I think we've talked about on a different podcast that when you have a really strong, big friend who could knock your lights out without you even just massive, like a dude where it's like, I have no chance. I wouldn't be able to do anything. It'd be one hit and I would be on the floor.
Yeah, true.
When you have that friend, it's like, well, yeah, that will actually most likely always remain true in our relationship. And that may have been the first thing I thought of him. But man, he's a good dude. We hang out. He's funny. Like he's got my back if anything goes down. He's helped my family. He has come and celebrated with me at big points in my life. Oh, but you're just scared of him. No. But that was the first thing you thought of him. Yeah. And then moved forward. And so that kind of informative fear, or that fear of just being a natural part of a situation, I think is there as well. Yeah. But I think so much of our life is giving in to manipulative fear.
It does.
And man, guys, it will kill the productivity in your life. It'll kill your progress in life. It'll kill even your peace in life. Sorry about that, guys. You'll see a cut in the unfiltered conversation. We were not filtering anything out. I just had a phone call I had to take, and I'm very sorry. Continue. You were saying.
That's why I was fearful. Ring.
You were fearful of the phone
I
ringing.
was fearful of the phone.
Pole
because I
sana,
knew we were
pole
expecting
sana.
a call. And I knew it will eat into our minutes, but it's
Pole.
okay. So yeah, I was talking about like when you're too fearful, like sometimes it stops you from even moving. It stops you even from doing something constructive. Because you are so worried. What about if I do not achieve these specific goals? Because like I'm looking at it, and I wanted to talk about, which I think you'll also talk about, your journey of fear and overcoming them, which is a really good thing, like on how we've done our life through fear and overcoming it. And each and every stage and each and every season of our life, there is a fear. And sometimes you just overcome it, and
Yeah, you can either act or let it control you.
yeah, because fear can really destroy you. Fear can really destroy you. Because that's why I started with school. Like that's the first hurdle. Like now, getting to a new school. Have you ever had that anxiety of getting to a new school where you're the only one, and most schools in the past used to have bullies, and when you're a new person in a school, in Kenya, there used to be things called first border, second border, meaning who's the strongest kid around, who can beat everyone.
Was it you? Always you.
So if you're new, like now you had to go through that test. Now the top dog will come and try and beat you. If you happen to beat the top dog, you become the top dog.
Is that what happened to you?
That's what happened to me.
You became the top dog.
I became the top dog.
Hey, look at this guy.
I smashed the top dog because I was fearful, because now you see the school, and then there was this a tiny boy who's bullied everyone, and this tiny boy, I was new, I was in this class, and they come to me and they tell me, lunchtime we have to square it out. And I was like,
What does that mean?
we have to fight.
Oh, at lunch.
Yeah, at lunch.
Not after.
No, at lunch we have to
Why would I give up lunch to fight someone?
and I was like, dude, I don't want to fight. I don't fight. Yeah, you take I'm the last. I don't want the title. Because I knew I've grown from the Eastlands. And I was capable of beating that dude. But like I didn't want
And he said no.
Yeah.
At lunch.
Yeah. So, and I was like, okay.
How do you say? Tutapiganana?
Tutapigana.
Tutapigana.
Yeah, I can see you working Swahili out. That's your biggest fear. So that happened, and lunchtime came. Thanks to God, I won the fight, and I became the.
Tell me how it went down.
I did beat him,
How?
as in punches, kicks. He did bleed on his nose, so I was superior then. But there's a time in life I've ever been beaten, by the way.
Of course, you had to get to the point where you could beat by being beat.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm this almighty in fights and I beat people.
So you got to be good at fighting by losing at fighting?
Not really.
I think we talked about that in a podcast, didn't we?
Yeah. So that was the first fear, because like now that had to be, and then the fears of exams. Those are the things that like really bad. Like each and every time I used to overcome it, and then I realized, if you just prepare and you're ready, you'll pass your exam. You'll move on to the next stage. You'll do well, and you'll continue. And now after now achieving all that, now going to the university, applying for the university spaces,
Rejection letters.
Of rejection, if you're rejected in this top university that you're looking at. And yeah, I picked one. I was lucky enough to study outside the country.
Lucky?
Experience different culture. That's what I normally say. But I don't say like it is a privilege, but like it's an opportunity to go and experience a different world. So I had that opportunity to experience a different world. And that was the other fear. The fear when I was there was coming back to my country as a failure.
So that was a good fear.
It was a good fear because it used to drive me to want to achieve good. And I went on to doing my master's. There was a place that was reserved for me up to date for me to do a PhD, but I'm not an academician. I told you that, I think, in some of the podcast, and I passed that one. And I came to Kenya, and I had quite a lot of fears because I thought like I had started working where I was. I was earning some good money here. I'm starting again. I do not have a job. How am I going to be? How am I going to live life? Now those fears. And each and every time I've been overcoming them. My biggest fear was like now coming from this other country back to Kenya was now integrating back to the country and also interacting with the friends that I had, because you see, most of them had moved on with life. So some of them had married. Some of them, life was different for them. We were not at the same place. So meaning I had to look for new friends. And I've got a friend of mine who played a really good key role in integrating me into the country and also introducing me into the business world. Because like I was so afraid on how will I live? Will I be able to get an income? It's not that easy to get a job here. You can get the job, but the payment is also not that really good.
Maybe it never comes.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like you'll always the life that you used to live. Sometimes you might end up living in a bubble, your past bubble, which makes you not break into your new bubble. Because like if you live on your past bubble, you might end up not even gaining in the society. Because it's like if you had a parent who was a president and he's no longer president, and you're always living in that bubble where your parent was a president. Like not everyone is calling you Mheshimiwa, respected person in English. So you understand, not everyone is called, you can easily collapse in that. And those are the fears that I experienced. And major fears were the person I'll marry.
Yeah. My goodness. That is something that I think as we get older, many people forget.
Yes.
Or they never had it. But I remember I was terrified of not getting married. And no, it's not because you don't have sex. No, like it's not that. It's just the loneliness that would be accompanied, in my mind at least, with for me. To be in that position would have been really tough. And I remember that was such a tangible reality that it's like, no, this is very possible. And that was a big driving force for me as well. So that was a big driving force in the past for you. What else?
That part. And then when I got this person, I didn't have any work. And I found love. But I cannot keep the love. I cannot sustain the love. I cannot think of doing a wedding immediately. That was one of my biggest fears as well. Like, I need to go to their parents, of course, give a token of appreciation, dowry, and all those kind of things. And I'm thinking, what will I do in that particular stage? Here, my uncle came through, big time for me, man.
Second time.
Sent from him. My uncle has been coming for me may God bless him. He's one person that I'll take a bullet for. He's that special to me.
One of three people.
One of the very few people.
You have him, your wife.
I've got my wife.
And your kid.
And my kid. You see, on like, I know we're not supposed to talk about politics, but like I almost got shot during the demonstration, but like I was like, okay, it is not wise for me to be there. I allow the Gen Zs to continue so that like maybe later on we can fight it on a different platform.
Yeah.
That's what we did. So those were the fears, marriage. And then when you get married, also the fears of getting a child. because people struggle getting children, and like even just getting a child, how to feed them. This time I do not have a job, and my wife is patient. I convince her, don't worry, things will just be fine. Things will be fine. You know,
I keep saying it.
you keep on giving them this narrative. You know, for a husband, I think you need to be a good politician. Not meaning you lie, but for you to be a husband, you have to
Be consistent.
you have to have a script, and you have to continue working hard and praying to God that you get the best wife you get. And I have a really good wife, and I will not have asked for anyone.
Yeah, and it's
this
like
one.
in that
So-
situation, you're just not allowing fear to be the loudest voice. It's not like
Yes.
you're acknowledging, no, there's no problem with me not having a job.
Yes.
You're just saying it'll be okay.
Yeah, it will be okay.
And that is just a positioning of that fear as no, this is not a baseline primal fear.
Yeah.
No, this is not something that's going to manipulate us. It's just information. I need to be uncomfortable because I don't have a gig right now. But then again,
Yeah.
you're a lawyer. You
Yeah.
cannot work for 4 months, get one gig that will pay for 12 months worth of expenses.
Yes.
It's just how
That's how
having your
things-
own kind of consultancy or whatever works. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's how things. Now that has been fear, and even up to now, we still fear, because like now I'm in a different stage and different season, where there are things that I'm prioritizing, where I need stability in certain things, because there are businesses that are there, but they're not stable. But like you see now, but like I cannot focus my fear on them. I have to keep on building on them and encouraging myself that it will be fine one day. And when I look at some of the richest guys, and sometimes when they achieve their wealth, that's encouraging. And I know you always want everything just there and there, but like sometimes life does not happen that has been my story of of fear, which is still happening now onto you, Taylor, as well. I think you've got fears in your life. Before now we can dissect it even furthermore. This
white people don't have fear. It's a joke that will go over well in Kenya. Maybe not.
You're
in
not afraid
America.
of being called Muzungu.
No, that's what I am. It's okay. No. Fear has been, it's been a big driving factor in probably very different areas of my life. I didn't worry as much about school, and I've got to do well. I went to college, and I made an active choice that I was not going to get A's because that would require that much time, and I wanted to kind of balance my college experience. That you would kind of have three things that you have to balance when you go to college. How are you going to pay for it? Who are your friends? And how well will you do? And I remember sitting down and actively choosing, okay, I'm going to make sure that I make some good relationships here. I'm going to make sure that I learn well, but I'm not going to invest that extra 50% that's going to get me the extra 10% that makes me stand out in that way. And I'm going to try to pay for it at a reasonable amount as well. So after a certain point in college, I just paid as I went, which extended my time. But I was able to get some very good friends, married my wife while I was in college, and got the degree eventually. So the fear for that side of stuff wasn't really there. It was like, okay, how do I want to do this? Fear for me is I think it's much more powerful relationally. Am I going to enter into conflict that will be uncomfortable? That the outcome, sometimes people are crazy, and so you can say the smallest thing and they'll go off. But even with reasonable people, it's like, what I say can really affect this relationship. And I've had, and I wish I would have listened to or been guided by fear a little more, actually a lot more, in the way that I talked. I joked with a friend one time about something that he had going on that he had happen in his life much earlier. He hasn't talked to me since. And that's not his fault. And if I would have noted that this is something that has a negative outcome, and let that kind of fear of that relationship going away inform me, then we would still be talking. And I know that it would be so good for us to be able to be talking, but I was foolish, you know, and not allowing that allowing fear to inform me on what could be the outcome. So I'd say that, you know, and that relational fear, it does affect a lot of other things.
Yeah, it does.
Even as it pertains to employment. Like if you're not willing to stand up for yourself, or you're not willing to stand up for what's right in the employment situation, or even just stand up and say, give me a raise or I'm leaving, that it affects your inputs and outcomes. You know, like, am I going to be getting that raise? No, because I didn't ask for it, because I'm scared of that conversation, and I'm scared of what if they say no, go find another job. Now I have to retool and find another job, and I'm kind of scared of that. So like that has been in effect in various areas, which since coming to Kenya, that was one of the things that God was pointing out to me early on, was that I needed to be more bold, which was very, very interesting, because when coming to Kenya, in all of the readings I've done and all of the education I've had and the people I've talked to, it's like when you're coming into a new culture, you need to be a learner first.
Yes.
And so the interesting thing about coming into Kenyan culture was being a learner and growing in boldness.
You did well there, because many Mzungu, when they come to Kenya, they come more as teachers, not knowing this is a different culture.
Yeah.
They come with that perception of the West, feeling like, for example, you know, there are things that happen in Kenya is not because like people do not know how they're supposed to work, but like see someone else. Like I've got friends who sometimes visit me from the UK, and they come see things and they feel like, okay, here now, you guys, you don't know. We can do thousands of business here. And I'm like those businesses, there are many Kenyans who can see those businesses. It's not that they cannot do them. So try to figure out why they are not doing it. And then you're able.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's... yeah, I mean, that was something I had to balance early on, was just that, was being a learner, but growing in boldness, because it was a time where God was really acknowledging, solidifying, I shouldn't say it, acknowledging, helping me to see my strengths, my purpose, and my abilities. And I remember like even saying like, no, I don't want to speak up or whatever, and just trying to maintain that learning. And then, but at the same time, it's like there are cultural sensitivities, but then there are things that cross cultures, and there are things that we have to pay attention to, that it's like, oh no, the Bible talks about this being wrong, and just because your culture says it's okay doesn't mean it's okay. It just means that it's in your culture. You know, like sensuality and pornography are a huge part of American culture. No, do I just say that's my culture? It's okay?
Yes.
No, I don't say that. Get out of here. And so I think it's overflowing. Like, I think it's a big culture in the West that has now started trickling. Hey, Buana.
Down here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in one of the other podcasts, but there's so weird question. The first video that you ever saw, was it American? Was it American?
The first video
the first video that your housekeeper showed to you in your living room of porn.
They're white. So
I don't know what language. Okay, so yeah, that is interesting. But then again, like, we just had a conversation a while ago about how pinnacle and how open sex has been even in African cultures.
Yes.
So there is it's not that sensuality is coming, it's that there's this form that Satan is really great at expanding.
For me, I think I wish they were speaking. I don't think people speak when they are doing the deed. So that's why I will not be able to trace the accent where they were from exactly, but I know they were white. And
Okay. No, you answered the question I had. It's okay. It's okay.
The interesting bit, I don't know, like, for me, I'm trying to think out loud about why did it like really manifest so much in the West, pornography? Why did it really manifest so much in the West? Are we like people in the West? I hope they won't get on me. People in the West having hidden fetish secretly, because like probably in Africa then they had embraced what is called polygamy, which no, I do not embrace it as a person at this particular stage.
At this particular stage.
But I can
Oh
see
man, we're gonna have to either cut that. We're not filtering that out. Your wife is going to hear you say at this particular stage.
No,
so you
no,
think in a couple of months.
Not even a later stage. Like I'm talking like
at
that.
this particular stage. Bona, what did you mean by that?
Let me clarify.
We're not
that.
going past.
Let me.
Maybe tomorrow.
No.
Maybe the stage that comes.
No, I'm saying that to defend my grandparents and my parents who practiced that, because you know it's
So it was okay for them, not you.
It's a culture that they were. You know, we were discussing about many things that make us introduce certain cultures in life. Fear is part of some things that formulate certain culture, and like for the female one, you remember we talked about the circumcision of female. You remember it was a self-centered kind of idea. Maybe one guy decided, no, we need to do this so that we can reduce this. But you see, I'm talking this in consideration of those people and some people who are, because for me, we've already established that I'm born again. So there's what I believe in already. There's what I believe in, and these things are usually informed with knowledge. And sometimes the reason we talked about picking a church, sometimes you'll have to go visit different churches, listen to the
teaching and the doctrine.
preaching, the doctrine, and then you say, this is my way.
Yeah.
This is the way that I want to follow. This is the way I want to be known as, and all those kind. The same thing is informed to us through marriage. You say, okay, my father was this, my mother was this, but like I've been given that freedom. That's the good thing about Kenya, that there's freedom of very many things. It's a mini, how can I call you? It's a mini evolved culture where like you can still practice the culture, but you can say no to the one that are really not good. You understand? I don't know if you understand.
I'm a bit lost.
Yeah.
Nimepotea.
No, nimekuleta from the aspect of polygamy. I told you that aspect of polygamy where like
That you're not there yet.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, and I explained why. Let my wife, you are safe. You are very safe.
No. I'm not worried about her being safe. The question is, are you safe?
I am safe. And I said till death, and I meant it. That's me. I was just speaking on behalf of my great-grandfathers, my grandfathers, and also my father, who've been in practice of this kind of things. And we cannot just shush them because it was part of it. And I was linking that to, is it because that it was common among Africans and it was not common about the guys in the West, where like now they really needed, that's why you see like for many people who've not been in the West, like you'll have these PG kind of channels. This are proper PG, parental guidance, meaning like you'll find ladies on some screens doing some things. It is very embraced in the Western. Am I right?
What?
Like those guys who are doing sensual things on TV where like people pay and you're able to watch them. They're able to remove parts of their clothes. It's embraced there. It is not embraced here because we're still feeling like that's not it's something that we cannot allow at this particular time. Oh, I don't know. We're talking about fear. Maybe we are very fearful of what it can do to the society.
Yeah, and I'd say it's an informative fear. But many people would argue that it's a manipulative fear and that it's just keeping people from being free in their expressions of their sexuality and doing all these frankly deviant things. But it's like fundamentally you can be free to do something and the something still not be good. And so as a society, it's like how do you draw the line of where you're going to allow that fear to inform you, or just hope that your populace allows that fear to inform them. So it's just interesting. One of my brother once talked to me about he had read a book, and he explained, he essentially gave me the cliff notes, like the quick version of the entire book in really just the title. And it has been, the title of the book has constantly reminded me to reset my perspective in many situations. And the book title was When God is Small and People Are Big. It might have been the reverse. It might have been When People Are Big and God is Small. And really the fundamental premise of the book is, whom then shall you fear but the Lord? How many of the things that you are doing or not doing are based on fear of someone else or something else? When you know you should do it. And we should really only be fearing God. And there's been so many times where it's like there's a difficult conversation or something I don't want to do, or I'm worried about the outcome, that it's like, I only have one to fear, and I don't need to worry. That doesn't mean I'm that I slip into this like cocky jerk mode where it's like, yeah, I only got to fear God, screw you, no, not like that kind of thing, but definitely like, no, I'm going to execute on this because I think that this is what God wants me to do, and I know you might not be happy with that.
That's true.
And it's hard, even just saying that. It's like, ooh, like there's this kind of like pullback of like,
change the system. You're like, oh,
yeah, exactly. And I'm sure, I'm 100% sure that this is a huge factor for Kenyans as well, of being able to share something with somebody that is difficult for that person to hear, but being very fearful that they might not appreciate it. They might feel like I'm attacking them or that I'm dishonoring them, and I don't want them to feel that, so I won't say it. And one of the most shocking things that people from the West or other cultures come here is that you Kenyans, you want to honor people, so you'll tell them what they want to hear, which can just be a flat out lie. But you have honored them by making them feel good about what they have been told. When will you come to fix this faucet? Can you come tomorrow? Yes, I'll be there tomorrow. No, he's in Mombasa and he's flying to Bangladesh for a conference on plumbing equipment, but he'll be there next week. But there's no way he's going to tell you that terrible news because it will be so sad for me to hear. Then he doesn't want me to feel sad. So, there's a lot of that it's like that
life is lived once. and you always give people hope sometimes.
Yeah, but hey, Bona, so that's a frustrating thing, but I think there's a huge fear aspect of it. There's a desire to honor somebody.
Yeah.
But parallel to that, there's the fear of, if I don't honor them, what will that say about me? Or if I don't honor them, what will they do to me?
Yes.
And man, I just looking fear in the face and deciding with open eyes what to do. Open eyes knowing that the fear is there has not stopped producing returns for me yet. And being able to say, like there's circumstances where you give somebody the option, knowing which one they'll take.
True.
But with a small hope that they'll choose the good one and have an outcome that is much more positive and much better. And they still choose the wrong one. And if I was so scared of giving that choice that I didn't give it, and I just either kept doing what I wanted to do, or altered something to allow for that not to happen, then I've robbed that opportunity of happening.
Yeah, true. That's very true.
Because I was fearful of an outcome. And so there's been times where it's like, I just have to embrace this situation, the fear that goes along with it, and let it be. And man, time and time again, peace follows that fear immediately.
Yeah, it does.
When I decide to face it and say, you know what, God's got this, I've got this, I'm executing, I'm going forward, peace comes. And it's crazy. Like, it really is that. I mean, I've had a situation where it's like, no, okay, here's the options, choose them. I'm happy with either outcome, and really just hope that the people choose well. I'm happy, and I think God has given peace for both of these outcomes. One of them includes a lot of benefits for you and for me. The other one is just benefits for me. I hope you choose the one that benefits you as well.
Yeah.
No. Not choosing that one. It's like, I can be very fearful about what happens to the relationship in that situation, what happens to the other person in that situation, and not have the conversation or not put that forward. But again, it produces, facing fear produces peace.
Yeah, true. It does. I
agree. And you see these guys in world wars.
You end up not being worried. Yeah, you end up not being worried with anything because, like, you've already faced your fears. And
I mean, I do this with my kids where it's like, I constantly am talking to them about fear and that it will always be there. The fear is there. Courage is not the measure of if you have fear or not. It's acting in the presence of that fear in the way that you need or want to act. Not just letting the fear control you, not letting, essentially, courage is not allowing that manipulative fear to have the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Not let it drive.
Because it happens, that fear happens in quite a lot of things. For us who are in business, sometimes
that is a real fear.
Yeah.
If I drop this 6 months worth of earning, trying to get this business off the ground, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've thrown away 6 months worth of earning.
Because sometimes you even involve investors, but you cannot guarantee them. You cannot guarantee them because you've just given them a good speech. You've given them a good speech. You've shown them, and they've looked at it. They've seen like it's doable, but sometimes just things happen.
Yeah.
And you lose. And they're on your neck. Sometimes some of them they take you to the police. You deal with that.
Yeah. But there's so much reward in when they face it.
Yes.
Like Elon Musk was he was at one point where Tesla was like about to close.
Yeah.
I mean, went from, and then, obviously he overcame that time and is the richest man in the world now. But there was very real times in his life where stuff did not work out. And we're just talking from like an atheistic money standpoint, where it's putting that money in a place where it's at a high amount of risk.
Yeah.
And doing everything you can do, facing that fear of that this could go away. All of this, so much money could just go away, and all I've worked for could go away. Or it could blow up and be amazing.
Yeah, true. And for me, I think I've encountered a lot of fears in business, a lot. I've failed in a number of businesses, by the way.
Like which ones?
In the Uber business, I failed.
Because you let a guy borrow the car?
Not really. And I just got rogue drivers. I did not have control. That was my fear every day. When this guy had the car every day, my fear was like, will he bring money? Will he tell me he's been arrested? Because most of the time he could tell me he's been arrested. And I got to a point where this was draining me. This was not making money. And it is a hard decision to make not to continue.
Yeah.
But you really need to make that decision as soon as possible.
Yeah, I once heard somebody say that making a decision has nothing to do with what is invested.
Yes.
It has to do with where it's progressing.
Yeah. And I remember that decision really disappointed many people like that had invested in me in that decision. So, and it was I felt like a failure. I can tell you that I felt like a failure for quite a while. And I started another one. I remember I started a water business which failed, which did not even get off the ground. I had spent like good amount of money, significant amount of money borrowed from people, and it didn't work out. And going back to them and telling them it's just not working out. But like you see, when I was selling the idea to them, I could see the A to Z. But like,
that's A to Z for people
Yeah.
in America who don't use Z.
yeah, and yeah, we do the British one.
So sorry.
So
You were there, conversations A to Z, but
yeah, so I was there, but like that did not work. I got into tendering, like getting these government jobs. Some did well, but I remember there's a point where they were not paying. And this meant you had borrowed money. You had borrowed some significant amount of money the first time they pay. And it's not supposed to be like that, but that this happened like you've already done a service to the government and
or provided them with material.
provided them the material, and then someone frustrates you, they want to be bribed, to be paid. And that was so frustrating. Those were those are just samples of businesses that I've done that have just not picked. And they're businesses that I still think they are good. And if well structured, they'll still do well. But like you see now, they need finances. And sometimes now the financial issue is usually the biggest problem, because
Gotta have money to make money.
yeah, you need to pump a lot of money in it. And I remember listening to one of my friend who is a businessman who's done many businesses and also failed. He like using an example of like digging a hole. You know, if you dig one hole and your intention is to get to the water underground, you don't dig it, and if you've dug it too deep, you're not yet at the water level, you start digging another hole. Because if you start digging another hole, it means you might end up your main goal is to get to the water. But like, you might end up digging 10 holes and you'll never get to the water because you're not patient enough to allow one hole to get to the water. So, and some of those advices do help. And you come back on the sitting table and you realize, okay, I know this business might take long, but let me stick to this one until it gets to a point where it's self-sustaining. Those are the fears that are there in business, and they're there every day. And every day I'm waking up in the morning when I do not have clients, I'm afraid. Because they're the ones that pay my rent. And if they're not there, then I have no rent. I have no food. So I constantly am in fear, but like, I do not allow that fear to sit on me. I'm like, other people have done it, they've made it, I'll push it. I'll continue digging this hole until I get to the water and start drinking the water. And that's overcoming fear. And many business people will tell you they started, like, you know, most of them talk about the good stories. When I was reading the Amazon story, I was even surprised, like, for 17 years, they had not made profits. That's a long time. And they kept on pumping in money. 17 years, do you know you can easily give up?
Yeah.
Because if you were...
What was the turning point for Amazon?
What was the turning point for Amazon? Amazon was, I think, COVID is the one that really made them peak. Was it COVID or it was before COVID?
Way before COVID.
Way before COVID.
I think
And-
it actually had to do with music
Yeah, it had to do with music.
because they got the contract. Was it for Barnes and Noble or Borders that they would start handling all of their music?
Yes.
And then they just blew up from there.
Yeah. So you see, but when you look at their story, when you look at, they were not breaking even for 17 years.
Yeah, that's a lot to go
Because you
through.
see, now someone will tell you the story, the success story of Amazon. They'll not tell you the failing story of Amazon.
Yeah, the success story. Yeah, and that's something that I found that even with kids, like in talking with my kids, letting them know that failure is okay. It's an essential part
Yeah.
of the human experience. It's an essential part of I shouldn't say it's a inescapable part of the human experience, and that we can't run away from things because we might fail. And if we do fail, we don't allow that then to speak into our value,
Yes.
because it's not the case. You know, we are still have the same position, the same value, the same worth, the same fundamentals before the failure, but now we've learned something else. My dad always would tell me, you know, there's Thomas Edison with his guy, one of his assistants, and they keep trying to figure out how to make a light bulb work, and you can get into if he stole it from Tesla or not, whatever. But talking with his assistant, and his assistant is so frustrated. He's like, we have tried 139 tests and none of them work. We have nothing to show for all of the work that we have done over these past couple of months. And Thomas Edison says to him, no, that's not true. We know 139 ways that this doesn't work.
True.
And it's like, okay, you know, if you take that same mentality towards your own life, that it's like when I embark on a situation that entails risk, and then failure, the risk comes to fruition that there's a failure there, I have learned it is not an empty situation. I can still glean from it and move forward. What part of this risk did I not weigh correctly? What factors did I not look at with enough weight to determine that this outcome was more possible than it was? And then sometimes in that assessment, it's just like, no. It was a very small chance it was failed, and you were the small chance. You were the one that made it. Not made it. You were the instance that led to the small chance.
Yeah, true.
You know, the people can weigh the flip side of that with medical stuff, like, oh, only 10% of people, you know, survive against this form of cancer. Okay, I'm the 10%.
Yeah.
I'm the exception. I am going to look at this risk, engage with it, and come out with the outcome that I want. So that's kind of the inverse of the assessment of the business side of stuff. But yeah, I can look back on my life and see my hesitancy has from fear has cost me. Whether it be business, you know, I wandered around Omaha with some friends looking for houses to buy to rent out as friends. And I look back on that and I was like, there's a couple of those houses that it's like, they are probably 5 times the value of when we looked at them. And it's like, man. But it's like, but that's a lot of money. Yeah, it is a lot of money, and it was a big risk. But if we would have taken it, it paid off.
Yeah. It would have paid off or not.
Yeah. No, it would have paid off.
Yeah.
It would have paid off.
You'd be like
Yeah.
laughing all your way to the bank.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay. You'd be like, Eric, what business do you have? Let's pump in money.
Yeah, man. Just so those type of things where you can look back and you can kind of recognize the fear after the fact, and also see that, you know, I just picked wrong. And so my failure wasn't in having a business that failed. It was not engaging in a business I should have.
Yeah, true.
And you can look and say, okay, I failed there. I'll make better decisions. You know, and you can't go through life fearful of failure. No, you have to view failure as the thing that helps to guide you. It's another thing to guide you. And it's a learning experience. And man, if you're fearful as a parent on screwing up your kids, whoo, yeah, that's a good fear to have in that it helps to guide you and drive you towards better outcomes. But you can't just not do anything.
Yeah, true.
You can't just disengage because like, well, I don't want to yell at them. I don't want to talk to them. Because if I say the wrong thing, then they'll think the wrong thing. And if they think the wrong thing, then they'll live the wrong way. And if they live the wrong way, then they'll die the wrong way. It's like, oh, I can't do anything. No. I'm just going to now be bold, like think through your stuff and engage and educate your kids about fear.
Yeah, sometimes mistakes are there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the problem is like sometimes with fear, sometimes you feel like, and you keep on. The funny thing, you can make mistakes, even 30 times, and the 30th time is the time you learn. But
yeah, I don't like those situations. I'm not down for that one.
It's the hardest route because you see, like sometimes you take this route, you end up doing the same mistake, but in a different way.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I just make a lot of different mistakes.
Yeah,
like I just fail a lot of different ways, and okay, not that way. Oh, okay, not that way. Oh, okay, not that way.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes you're thinking of that, and wow, that blows, and that's why fear. Like, if I was not bold enough to even engage in the businesses that I was engaging in, probably I'll not be able to pay my rent. Yeah, and that means I've crushed myself even with a little hope that I have in life to do things. And like I don't think there's a way around it. It's just handling it head on and moving on.
So what is your greatest fear now?
Not succeeding.
How do you measure success?
I'm able to provide for my family comfortably. That's me measuring success. I'm able to build them a home or get a home for them. And I'm not excited with like very
65-room mansion, all in suite.
I just want something that I've got a small, nice compound with a nice house. That's it. I'm happy with it. In a nice area, it's a nice place. I like it.
Nice garden, good lawn, nice trees.
Nice trees, like I can chill, I call it home. And that's it. Some of these things, we don't need them. Sometimes some will say because of maybe I've not gotten certain amount of money. But like I think you have to know what's enough in your life before you get to enough. Yeah, because like if
I remember you saying that. I like that. Say it again.
You have to know what's enough in your life. You really have to know what's enough in your life. And the moment you know what's enough in your life,
you have your goal.
You'll be a very happy person. Because like the basic things that you need, there are basic things that all of us need in life. Food, shelter, clothing.
Connection.
Yes, if possible.
And I don't mean internet connection.
Yeah, if possible. And if you get all those and you are able to leave some good inheritance to some of your generation, where like you've built some things that will be there for years to come, you've literally achieved in life.
So
you can easily get to the heights of billions, which if it comes, there's no problem. But like, you can only handle that billion if you've defined you enough. If your enough is 10 cars, let it be 10 cars. If your enough is 1 car, let it be 1 car. If you want to be...
Yeah, so I remember you talking about this, that you need to define what enough is.
Yes.
Before you come to a place where it could possibly is, so that when you reach there, you can be content.
You can be content. You can become a good human being. You can for me, who's a Christian, I can carry on the job of Christ in helping the needy, creating opportunities for others, and which will still generate income for me. But I've already defined this was my enough, and I'm satisfied with it. Yeah, no matter what happened, like this is it. I'm okay. I'm happy, and I live in that. My kids have gone to school. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I've done homeschooling, whichever.
So for you, your greatest fear is being unsuccessful.
Being
like being a failure.
being a failure.
He's scared of failure.
Yeah. Scared of failure. It's every morning I wake up.
With that drive.
That's the drive. I don't want to fail. I want to achieve things in life. And for someone, achieving the Elon Musk way is...
The what?
Achieving in the Elon Musk way is the way they want to achieve.
Oh, yeah, Elon Musk. Okay.
Or Bill Gates way. But like, not all of us are meant to be like that. And I made peace with this. You know, sometimes we all think we live in these leafy suburb areas. But like, it is not meant to be like that sometimes. You can work hard, but like some of those things are not meant. And if God blesses you with those things, then you're grateful.
Yeah, I think that, Paul's, we all take this verse of, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
We rip that verse out of context.
True.
Because the context of that verse, Paul is talking about when I am in plenty.
Yeah.
And when I have nothing.
Yes.
I am content. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That it's like, and it's crazy. I've met both people that people that are very, very uncomfortable with anything nice. They feel like they are not allowed that. It's not something that they should have. And they need to get rid of it as quickly as possible. And that it does not represent who they are.
Yeah.
And so that's the, being in plenty. And I've met other people who, if I don't have X, Y, Z, I am going to die.
And sometimes when those things when you get a lot when you've not defined it enough, it can take you down the drain. You understand? It can literally take you down the drain.
Literally.
Yeah.
The drain.
Yeah, like if you get $1 billion today, it can make you go crazy.
Yeah, that
it can make you go crazy. There's some things that you need to go through. It can give you pride. Those kind of things. Sometimes that kind of wealth come with a certain pride. You feel like you're invincible. You feel like you can buy anyone. You feel like you can do anything.
It's that level of arrogance.
Yeah. So, and that's why defining a lot of these things help you when you get a lot. It's easy for you to know what...
If you have like an empire that the sun never sets upon.
Yeah. What trajectory are you going to take?
Or you have such a mighty military that you think you can just stomp on whoever you want.
Yeah.
These type of pride issues happen with even countries, not just people. But I for me, I think my greatest fear is that I live in a way that does not represent God, especially as it pertains to my kids. And I don't mean like other people see the way I treat my kids. I mean, my kids see the way that I live.
And replicates that.
And it's bad. Like, or they see that and they say, oh, I don't, that can't be how God is. And they, because ultimately, to put it simply, like, I just want my kids to know Jesus. There are so many forces and there's so many factors that are pushing against that it's like, this most important thing, this most paramount thing, it has to, there's so much working against us, even as adults who are educated, who have thought through things, there's so many things pushing us towards doubt. That's the world my kids live in. And they're going to grow up. And, oh man, just to not know Jesus. Whee! But that has been God has really hit me on a lot of my different fears that I have. Success was a huge one. And I asked you the way you measure success, because that makes or breaks the answer, right? Yes. And for me, in my heart, I know where success lies, but in my head, my measures for success, you're freaking 35 years old. Do you have a house yet? You're 35-year-old. Do you have a couple of cars? What does your retirement look like? How are you able to provide? Have your kids been to Disney World? Like Disneyland? Like all these things that it's like, where the crap did I get these standards?
That's true.
And if I live on that kind of fear and live on that kind, because you have a way that you can introduce fear into somebody that is trying to manipulate them, and Satan will do that with us. And I think he very much does that. He does that with me, in trying to change where I measure success. And it's been a long road for me to say, okay, these things that I fear, even though my mind, I get anguish about them, and my heart flutters about them, the truth flies in their face, and I have to ignore both of those things. That it's not these things that drive and determine my success/value. And when I turn that towards the audience and turn that towards other people's situations, it's like, okay, what are you allowing to determine your value? Because if you're allowing something else besides God and the way that he has gone through creation and established you in his image and sent his son for you, if you're allowing some other definition of your value, then that other definition is going to be able to control you via fear very effectively.
Yeah, true.
If you cannot stand being called names by another tribe because that tribe once dominated you, you are allowing that fear to dominate your life.
True. And
it's mind you, when we talk about stuff on here, none of it's easy. None of it's like that's it. Yeah. But man, it's a big one for me. It's a very big one for me.
Ooh, this has been a topic.
A little bit of one, and it's so interesting that it's like I in my life I just want to be able to just pull something out and like set it down. And have a conversation recorded, but at a quality level people would want to listen to. Because you can whip your phone out and you can record stuff and you can have audio recordings of really good conversations, but it's gonna sound like this, and then somebody's gonna drop something and the mic's gonna go crazy and it's gonna blow people's eardrums out. But they're like, because we've in our interactions, whether it be around the fire at my house or at church or wherever. I've had awesome conversations, and it's just like sometimes on this podcast, it's like, man, I just want to replicate that moment that we had XYZ time.
Sometimes I think like we can just shoot a record like a random one, like when guys come in, because sometimes guys talk deep things, and you're like, okay, this will be good for discussion on a podcast.
Yeah. And so there's. As we sit and interact with this stuff, just know that there's a lot of conversations that kind of lead up to these topics. There's a lot of interactions that play into them. And sometimes those conversations are better than the ones we have here.
Yeah, true. Oh.
But the wonderful thing is that the purpose of our conversations here with you guys is not to make the best conversation. It's to spur the best conversation in your life.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So that you have this
intention.
You have this conversation with your why do you not share your finances with your spouse?
Yeah.
Are you afraid that they will judge you and think you're not very valuable because you're not bringing in enough money? Yeah. And if you hide it from them, then they can think that you have more money than you do, and then you look better. Or why not just be vulnerable and let them know that this is how much I make, and not let that fear control you? Why do you not tell a person in your life how much they mean to you? Whether it's your dad, whether it's your brother, whether it's this girl because we're letting fear dictate what would be a good conversation, and just saying, you know what, and I think, guys are scared of commitment. They don't want it. No, they are scared, not scared of, they're actually just scared of rejection.
Yeah, true.
Because if you go to that woman and you say to her, I love you deeply, and there's nothing in my life, no one not in my life that I would want to hold closer than I would hold you close.
No.
And then they say
no.
yeah, I don't feel that way, and I think that we should.
Ouch.
I think that we should just be friends after this, 8-month relationship.
That's so painful.
That is a very real fear of every guy who is about to propose.
True. Someone running away.
And that is like, and that'll, and that's like, it's like a healthy fear. Like, you don't just go asking every girl you kind of have that fluttery feeling about to marry you. You make sure that you've thought through this, and that you would fight through this, and that you, So it just,
It's a lot.
as you have these conversations, as you invest with people, jump into those difficulties. Even if you have that fear there of like, man, I really wonder if her parents will like me. I really wonder if this boss will decide to keep me or not. If I tell him I want a raise. There's a lot of these assertive conversations that you need to have, that you can't let fear dominate your outcomes. You can't let your fear dominate your incomes, and thus affect your outcomes.
And there are many topics around fear that we can invite you as audience, if you really want us to sit on a specific topics with, like now a group of panel that we'll be having, and we can talk about, because I know fear is a very broad topic that, like, if we start talking about fear, we can talk about it endlessly.
Yeah, and but as it pertains to even most of our audience, like, what is your greatest fear?
Yeah.
Now assess that fear. Is that a fear that is informing you of actions that you need to take?
Yes.
Is that fear trying to manipulate you towards some end? Or is that fear just like a baseline run away from the fire, And if it's one of those informative fears, then take action. And I don't think that enough people are doing this. We're not looking to the future and saying, okay, ultimately, what is my greatest fear? That those that I love would not know Jesus. Okay, then now I need to take the information from that and then behave accordingly. That if your ultimate fear is being alone, then you better structure your life now to make sure that you're not alone. And ultimately, the greatest people that are going to stick by your side are family. And so build a family.
True.
And the people that will always, not always, sadly, be there for you until you die are children. So if you don't want to be alone, you need to have children with a solid family that will make sure that those kids are with you up to the moment you die.
You just need not to be with them. You need to participate in raising them as well.
That's what I mean. Because they won't be there when you die if you're not investing properly all the way up to that point.
True.
And so it's like, we can look at these fears, look into your life, say, what are the greatest things that really pull me back, that really like make me super uncomfortable, assess them, especially as it compares to your eternal kind of beliefs, and then change your behavior accordingly. If your greatest fear is that your kids would live in a society that is XYZ, then go out and change your society so it's not XYZ.
True.
And do the necessary steps. And it's hard. It's absolutely hard. But we're not scared of hard things. We shouldn't be scared of hard things. We overcome and take care of hard things all the time.
And hardship always come, and we overcome it. And we're enjoying our fans. We had fear that I had fear that, what are we going to talk about in this fear topic? And I can see now we've talked for more than 1 hour around it, and there's still quite a lot that we can talk about. And we want your fear aspect that we can talk about. We want you to engage with us. We want you to subscribe and follow us.
We're not scared if you don't, though.
Yeah, and it's okay. it's okay. With our production team that is doing amazing things, that we will put some details down there to be able to see how we can support that part of our podcast. And we will appreciate your support.
We look forward to hearing back from you guys. What is your greatest fear in your life that you also think others around you have the same fear? Drop that one down below, and we're gonna be getting guests on the show. Like we said, we got big things planned for season 2. We were doing a little bit of just like brainstorming recently. Really cool ideas that are gonna really engage with you as the viewer.
I'll be singing.
Oh no. Engage with you and as a viewer to see things in a different way, but also be presented in a different way. So we've got some really cool ideas for that. So we look forward to season 2. If you'd like to support us, please see the links down below that we can drop for you.
Yes.
Any little bit would help. We're going to put all that money towards helping our production to be bolstered in its quality. Where right now we have a production company that's helping us, that they said, we believe in you guys, we want to help you out, but that's not forever. Yeah, we'll help you start. Yes, and so season 2 will be much more on our own, and we need you to support us to make that happen. Oh no! Here it is.
See you.
He goes quick. He doesn't want me to beat him to the send off. Thank you guys. You guys have a blessed day.